So as Microsoft and Asus gear up to release their new handheld, which is essentially just an Asus ROG with a paint job of Xbox all over it, which could be interesting to see the price point at the very least. And fake mock-ups are already starting to appear around, but don't bother wasting your time with those. Wait until it's officially unveiled, especially with some of the mock-ups being really ugly. But it's interesting to see a lot is actually happening in the gaming world, especially, well, this Wednesday, tomorrow, Nintendo announced their Switch 2 release date and price point, which is going to be interesting. But there's a few more things that have been going on, so why don't we just have the drop and get into it? So, as you can see here, this was actually sent to me. This is now being reverted, by the way. This is clearly what Microsoft is aiming for. And you can see at the top where it's got Microsoft as an option. And all your games are actually appearing. Now, this is on the PC. This doesn't necessarily mean that they are playable. What it's actually doing is showing you your complete library. Now, this may completely go against what we originally thought. If you go to it right now, it's already been updated and patched and removed, so you don't see this anymore. I've tried it myself, it's just not there. This person who's actually done this, who has checked it themselves and reached out and said nope, it's no longer the case. He doesn't see the 360 games anymore, so clearly they're not ready to unveil this just yet, but it seems like this is what it's going to look like. And it's kind of going to be that catch 'em all in one place GOG type thing. Now, obviously, the hope is that these games, these 360 games especially, and the OG Xbox games, and your Xbox One games, and the Series games that aren't available on PC, or if they are available on PC, you'll be able to play their PC counterpart with your save being cross-save. Either way, you'll be able to play your games that you have on your consoles over here on this PC platform, making it a true Xbox. That is the ultimate aim. Now, whether we're actually going to get there, I don't know, but mad respect, Make It Simple, for actually having Anthem in your collection. Really good game. I loved it through and through. Awesome stuff. So this one is mainly for someone called T800, and no, we're not talking about the Terminator because it's way too cool, but if you're in my Discord, you will know who I'm talking about. This has been a game that he has wholeheartedly been looking forward to when it was announced last year in April Fools. Now, apparently a lot of people have been requesting this. My assumption is that T800 has actually been sending mass emails to PalWorld with alt accounts to try and get this game made into a reality. Well, apparently his dream has now come true, and this has become a thing, and it is real. Good job, buddy. I'm proud of you. Now you can finally go and date your pals. Hey look, don't judge the guy. Everyone's got something. Nintendo are basically getting ready to unveil 2 days of Nintendo Switch 2. Will we see any more PlayStation games turning up to this? Obviously, we had the Switch, and that had the minor games from Nintendo, but could we see some of the more prevalent, demanding games from Sony appearing on the Switch 2, like Spider-Man? Or the Last of Us series that they seem to love to remaster, remake, and remaster, remake, and then remaster again, re-release multiple times. This could be the perfect opportunity for them to appeal to another audience. In my opinion, that game should at this point just go everywhere, because they've got a TV show coming out, and the hype is going to be real. So releasing it in tandem with this, that series, just makes so much sense that they're going to make so much money. It worked for the first game, it would work on this one. If you get it over to Switch and Xbox as well, I can see it doing big bucks. But hey, only if they like money. But the question is, will we be seeing any more PlayStation games over on Switch? Interesting question. The next day, obviously, we're going to have a 4-hour presentation from Nintendo showcasing a bunch of games. I'll be working through both of these, so on Thursday we're going to check out the actual stream that's happening tomorrow. I know most people would have seen it, but we can check it out again and just go through it and have our discussions. And we're going to skim through the 4-hour one, just checking out the game releases and talking about them, because you know it's a big deal, and hopefully we'll see exactly how much the Nintendo Switch 2 is priced at. I'm still hoping for a $399.99 and maybe for a May-June release. Hopefully it won't go to the end of June, but maybe end of May. That would be really nice. Nintendo has said that they are looking to supply loads and loads of copies of this, so this should actually be really, really good. So Batman, Arkham, whatever the next Batman is called, as much as people want to cope with this headline, Batman's game confirmed for PS5 and next gen, and people are saying next gen only means PS6, it does not, because over here, Rocksteady rumored single-player Batman game is in development for PC, PS5, Xbox, and the next generation consoles, which means that Rocksteady already has the development kit for the PS6, or at least the schematics for it in terms of specs, as well as the next Xbox. So these are currently now more or less set in stone. There is scope for some tweaks here and there, but by and large, they've got a blueprint now that they're going to work from on what these specs are. So that's quite interesting. If they've got them from now and they're working towards it, these consoles could be out in 2027. Interesting. But yeah, this game is no longer exclusive to PlayStation. It is coming to pretty much everything, potentially the Switch 2 as well. Monster Hunter Wilds has sold over 10 million copies in its first month. That is crazy considering people were crying this game is woke, go broke, and Grumses and Smash JT and whoever the rest are, their hopes and dreams have been shattered once again as Capcom come out fighting and record their first month sales for Capcom. And apparently this is like the best they've ever done. 10 million copies in 1 month is phenomenal. This will print money for another 5 years. You know, this is crazy. And as someone said down there, this is wild, right? Exclusive games are bad for the industry. Look at these numbers. No wonder after Street Fighter V they said F it. F exclusives. And for third party companies, it doesn't make sense to make them exclusive, right? I get Sony with their inherent first party studios, and to a certain degree I get Microsoft, you know, doing it with their first party studios. But actually making third party games exclusive for a third party publisher doesn't make sense, because you want those games to go out to as many people as possible. First party is deemed to sell your platform. End of story. And once, you know, Capcom is now seeing the fruits of their labor by going multi-plat and no longer having games exclusive. They are really enjoying the revenue intake. Of course, making a good game always helps. Now we come to some of the more silly side of things, because Oliver Darko, who I'm still waiting to this day to at least have one good take, like just one. I'm not asking for a lot here. I'm just asking for one good take. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Just one good take. But apparently the Switch Lite shouldn't be included in the global sell-through because it's not pluggable into your TV. Even though it is a Switch, it plays Switch games, it has the same hardware, it just can't plug in. It's still a Switch console, it is still part of the family, so yes, it should be counted. And you've got a lot of people down here coping, including Zubitech. I mean, that guy's an idiot anyway, but no one should be agreeing with this. This is so weird. Nintendo Switch Lite sales should be excluded from lifetime console. They're so scared that Nintendo is going to catch up to the, 160 million PS2 sales. I mean, the fact that 5 million just popped out of nowhere in, magic thin air randomly one day when Sony decided, hey, remember these 5 million? I wrote it on a piece of paper. I know it's old and crumbly right now, and but I did in 1947 write this, that we sold an extra 5 million extra units, and that has to count. So there's that. But they're so scared right now that Nintendo is going to catch and overtake them that they are trying to find any excuse or reason to omit certain platforms. It's weird, it's cringe, and it is such a bad take. Just take the L and move on, my dude. But it gets better, right? It gets better. So Tripster over here, who not only said that Japan studio closing is one of the best things that ever happened to PlayStation. So all those jobs that were lost is perfectly okay. No one cares about those job losses, you know, because it gave rise to Team Asobi. What a horrible take. But then I don't expect much either. But now he's saying, I mean, you can't even spell, but shout out to the best-selling platformer ever made, when in reality this game has sold a whopping grand total of 0. Astro Playroom is a free demo that is available on your PlayStation 5 platform every time you buy it. It has not sold 75 million units. It is just a free game that is added. It's weird, and the fact that he keeps posting this over and over again, and he has been community noted every single time that he doesn't get the picture. But one day, the hope is that he will. At least that's the hope, right? And one day he has to realize that that's not even copies sold, right? That's copies shipped. So a bunch of those games are sitting in a warehouse right now. So he's counting the games sold. He's counting the games that are sitting in the warehouse waiting to be sold. That's crazy. And it's not even the games that are waiting to be sold. He's waiting for the consoles to be sold, because there is no game being sold here. It's just the console being sold, and the game is pre-installed. Do you remember back in the day on the Master System when you had Alex the Kid pre-installed? You also had a version of it with Sonic pre-installed. Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. If it's pre-installed, it's not selling, buddy. You're just selling the hardware, and the game just comes pre-packaged. But what can I do? I can't teach intelligence. I mean, I could, but in this case, it would just take way too long. And on that note, folks, that's the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. If you've made it this far, do consider hitting that like button, subscribe, hit that bell to stay up to date with all content I release. If you want to support me further, you can do that via the super thanks directly below here, or you can become a YouTube member. All of this helps not only me continue doing what I'm doing, but it also helps promote the channel in the YouTube algorithm, and it helps it push out to a wider audience, especially with the free way of supporting me, which is simply just liking and subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Remain legend.